Hello everyone, welcome to my online classroom, and in this video we are going to discuss class 11 political science subject, the first book, chapter 2, rights in the Indian Constitution. And in this chapter we are going to discuss about the various types of the rights which we have got from our constitution, and these all our rights are known as the fundamental rights. And why these rights are known as the fundamental rights? Because these rights are mentioned in our constitution. So let's start the flowchart. Here I have mentioned all the important headings which is related to this chapter, and which is very important to learn and to remember during the exam time, and it is a short kind of revision. For the revision time also we can use it as a revision purpose during the examination time, and it is going to be really very helpful to us to understand each and every heading in a simple, easy way. So let's start, and this flowchart you can use to write your notes also. So first of all, we have the introduction, and in introduction what we are going to write. So of course our constitution is not only about the composition of the various organs of government and the relations among them. As we studied in the last chapter of this political science book of class 11, there also we have read about the constitution and how the power is be divided among the various levels and the various organs of the government, like the legislative, executive, judiciary, central government, state government, and the local government. So here also even we have already read about that what kind of limitations the constitutions put on the power of the government, so that the government cannot misuse their power and each and every person enjoy their certain rights. So here in the constitution we have some fundamental rights. So here, just like part 3 of the Constitution of India lists the fundamental rights and also mentions the limit on these rights. Okay, so whatever rights they have given, so at the same time as a citizen of this country we have some duties also. After that, importance of rights day by day, how what according to the time, because now time is be changed, so according to the time the importance of rights is also be different. So in this chapter we are going to read about the importance of rights in our personal life as well as be a part of this society. What is the importance of these rights we are going to be read under this main heading. Next we have the heading, it is Bill of Rights. So what do you mean by the Bill of Rights? Under the Bill of Rights, just like the a cluster of rights, so a list of rights mentioned and protected by the Constitution is called the Bill of Rights. So those rights which is mentioned in our Constitution and protected by the Constitution, so those rights, the cluster of rights, are known as the Bill of Rights. After that, of course, a Bill of Rights prohibits government from thus acting against the rights of the individuals and ensures a remedy in case there is violation of these rights. So because these rights have been mentioned in our constitution, and the constitution is going to protect these rights whenever these rights are going to be violated by someone, by the individual, so that time the constitution is the protector. As a protector, it's going to be protect these rights. Next we have the fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution. If we are going to see that what kind of fundamental rights mentioned in the Indian Constitution, so of course in the Indian Constitution we have total 6 types of fundamental rights. We are part of this society. As a citizen of this country, we enjoy these 6 fundamental rights. So let's see what are the various types. First of all, I want to tell you here that whatever the capital letters headings I mentioned here, these all are the main headings, and under that whatever in small letters and the point wise I mentioned, these are the subheadings which is the coming under this main heading. So fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution, it's have 6 types is the here, and 6 types. First one is right to equality, second we have right to freedom, and third we have right against exploitation, fourth we have right to freedom of religion, and next we have fifth one, cultural and educational rights. Next we have the right to constitutional remedies, which is also known as the heart and soul of the Constitution, said by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Okay. So let's start one by one. We are going to discuss under the which article we are getting this all the rights. So first of all we have the right to equality. Okay, which right we have? First of all we have the right to equality, and under this article 14 to 18 we have this right to equality, and here there's various types of rights, especially the right we have, it is equality. So everyone is equal before the law. In front of law everyone is equal without any discrimination of religion, caste, language, and sex, etc. Okay. Apart of that, also we have like prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth, which I already said right now, just like the equal access to shops, hotel, wells, tanks, bathing carts, roads, etc. So in the society, whatever things is being given to us by the government, so we all are having equal right to utilize those facilities and equal right to use all the other kind of things. So equality is going to be provided under this right to equality. Even we have the equality of opportunity in public employment, just like whatever jobs are going to be notified and it's going to be published by the government. So on all this kind of jobs, we are all are equal to apply and to get this kinds of jobs. So equal opportunity we have to get any kind of employment. Even next we have the abolition of untouchability. Article 17 is abolish the untouchability. So it is also a kind of right to equality we have. After that we have abolition of titles. So before of that, many of the people, they use some titles like the Maharaja and Rai Bahadur. So this kind of titles they use, but nowadays this kind of titles are be abolished. And next we have the right to freedom, which is coming under the article 19 to 22. And here first we have the right to life and personal liberty. Under this we have the preventive detention also. Then we have the other freedoms like freedom of speech, freedom to assemble peacefully without any arms. So these all are rights we are coming under this right to freedom. Even like move freely throughout the territory of India, reside and settle in any part of India, practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade or business. So all these rights are coming under the right to freedom. A part of that, even we have right to life and personal liberty, right to education we have under this. Okay, right to education we have. Even we have the right to like protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. So without any proof, the police cannot be arrest us. So of course, there are some procedure is be there which everyone is to follow. Next, we have the right against exploitation. So under this right to exploitation, just like you can see here, Article 23 to 24, under this we have right against exploitation. And here, first I mentioned the beggar and second human trafficking. Here in front of that I have written the meaning of all these words. Beggar, a forced labor, it is also known as forced labor without payment. Okay, and human trafficking means buying and selling of human beings. So prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor. So this kind of thing is totally prohibited under this right against exploitation. If something is like that, so you can knock the door of the court. And next we have prohibition of employment of children in hazardous jobs. Like in some factories we have seen that many of the children, they were working there, that is very hazardous place for them. So in those kind of places, the children were not allowed to do work. So these all things are coming under the right against exploitation, which is Article 23 to 24. Next we have the right to freedom of religion, and it is from Article 25 to 28 we have under this. And here first we have freedom of faith and worship. Whatever you having the faith, any religion you want to follow here, so you can follow it, you can worship any god. So there is no any restrictions regarding this. That's why India is also known as a secular country, because India does not favor and not be against of any religion. Second, we have equality of all religions. Here all the religions are equal. Nothing is like that any religion is higher and superior, or any religious is inferior. Just like some points are here, like freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of religion, freedom to manage religious affairs, freedom to pay taxes for promotion of any particular religion, and freedom to attend religious instruction or worship in certain educational institutions. So this kind of rights we all are be written or we have under this right to freedom of religion. Next is the fifth one, which have cultural and educational rights. So of course in the country, like some on the basis of language, and some cultural minorities also live in our country. So on the basis of them, we also are providing some cultural and educational rights to them, so that they can protect their culture, they can conserve their culture and education, their local languages. So this we have under the Article 29 to 30. So here our main motive under this rights, that protection of language, culture of minorities, even right of minorities to establish educational institutions. A part of that, now the last, the sixth one right which we have, it is right to constitutional remedies, and it is Article 30 to 35. Here we have the some subheadings. which makes this right a very important right. As I said right now that this right is also known as the heart and soul of this whole constitution. So under this, right to move the courts, to issue directions, orders, writs for enforcement of rights. So any of the right which we have mentioned above of this, so if those rights were not getting, those rights are going to be violated. So under this right, you can appeal in the court, and the court is going to be pass some kind of writs and orders to the lower court. So here first we have the habeas corpus, second we have the mandamus, third we have the prohibition, and fourth we have the quo warranto, and fifth one we have the certiorari. Okay, so one by one I am going to be explain what these terms means, what the actual means of all these words. So first of all, habeas corpus, it is a kind of writ of habeas corpus means that the court orders that the arrested person should be presented before it. It can also order to set free an arrested person if the manner or grounds of arrest are not lawful or satisfactory. Second, we have the term mandamus. So mandamus, it is a kind of writ is issued when the court finds that a particular office holder is not doing legal duty and thereby infringing on the right of an individual. Third, we have the prohibition. So prohibition means it is also a kind of writ which is issued by a higher court to a lower court, just like the High Court or Supreme Court. When a lower court has considered a case going beyond its jurisdiction. So when lower court is facing some kind of problem and they are not giving justice, or they feel something like that under their jurisdiction, it is not be any kind of case is not be hearing properly. So that time the higher court ordered to the lower court which has considered a case going beyond its jurisdiction. Next one we have the quo warranto, and under this, if the court finds that a person is holding office but it is not entitled to hold that office, it issues the writ of quo warranto and restricts that person from acting as an office holder. So here, just like someone is going to be hold any office and he is not capable to hold that office, he is not having the qualification of that. So that time any writ is going to be passed, and according to that, that writ is going to restrict that person to not to hold that office. Next we have the certiorari. Certiorari means under this writ, the court orders a lower court or another authority to transfer a matter pending before it to the higher authority or court. So under this writ, like the court orders, the court is going to order to the lower court to transfer whatever matter, whatever case is standing with them, they are going to be transferred to the higher courts. After that, we have the next main heading. It is Bill of Rights in the South African Constitution. So how in the South African Constitution, what are the important rights are be included there? So that we are going to discuss under this main heading. So related to the South Africa, as we very well know that the condition of South Africa is not just same like the India. So there also a long struggle they were done related to sort out their racial discrimination problem. So here some rights is be included in the Constitution of South Africa, just like right to dignity, right to privacy, right to fair labor practices, right to adequate housing, right to health care, food, water and social security, right to healthy environment and right to protection of environment. Children's rights, right to basic and higher education, right to information, right of cultural, religious and linguistic communities. So these all kind of rights are being mentioned in the South African Constitution. After that we have the next heading. It is National Human Rights Commission, which is also known as NHRC, and it is main important that how this NHRC is going to conserve, preserve and save the basic rights of the human beings as a citizen of any country. So here, first of all, the National Human Rights Commission is composed of a former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of India, a former Judge of the Supreme Court, a former Chief Justice of a High Court, and 2 other members who have knowledge and practical experience in matters relating to human rights. Apart of that, the Commission's main functions include inquiry and its own initiative or on a petition presented to it by a victim into complaint of violation of human rights, visit to jails to study the condition of the inmates, undertaking and promoting research in the field of human rights, etc. Even the Commission receives complaints in thousands every year. These relate to custodial death, custodial rape, disappearances, police excesses, failure in taking action, indignity to women, etc. So all these complaints, whatever the NHRC is getting, so on the basis of those complaints, of course, National Human Rights Commission, they inquire all these matters and they find out that thing is be right or wrong. After that, we have the directive principles of the state policy. So what are the important directive principles are be contained in this chapter that we are going to read? Of course, it is not justiciable, and framed our constitution thought that the moral force behind these guidelines would ensure that the government would take them seriously. So all these directive principles of state policy are be mentioned here. After that, we are going to read about that what do the directive principles contain, what its main points which is be related and which is be contained here. After that, the next we have the relationship here, fundamental duties of citizen. Of course, as a citizen of this country, whatever fundamental rights we have, at the same time we have some fundamental duties also. Okay, so some fundamental duties of citizens also we have whenever we are talk about the rights. So at the same time we have the duties also. So that also are responsibility of a perfect and a responsible citizen to perform all these fundamental duties. After that, we have the next or the last heading of this chapter, which is we have the relationship between fundamental rights and directive principles. So what is the relationship between fundamental rights and the directive principles? So regarding the goals, policies and non-justifiable rights, we are going to read just like the goals. What is the goal of this directive principles? Welfare of the people, social, economic and political justice is the promotion of international peace under its main goal. Next we have the policies. So under policies, its main function is uniform civil code and a civil law, prohibition of consumption of alcoholic liquor, promotion of cottage industries, prevention of slaughter of useful cattle, promotion of village panchayat. So these are the policies of the directive principles. And next we have the non-justiciable rights. So under this, adequate livelihood is important, equal pay for equal work for men and women, right against economic exploitation, right to work, and early childhood care and educational to children below the age of 6 years. So these are the some rights which we have under this directive principle, which is non-justifiable or justiciable rights. Next we have the right to property. As we very well know, before of that it was a fundamental right, but in 1978 the 44th amendment to the constitution removed the right to property from the list of fundamental rights and converted it into a simple legal right under article 300A. So these all kinds of the main important headings we have. After that, of course, the conclusion is be given, and under this conclusion we are going to read about the whole thing which we have discussed right now. So these all are the main important headings of this chapter, which you all have to be prepared for your exam as well as for your in your life also. So these lines, these terms are very important one by one, just like the article 14 to 18. This it is very important to learn article 19 to 20 what it says. So all these things are very important. So prepare it. So thank you everyone, and please like, share, and subscribe this channel for more updates.